And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome to Open Connection. I'm your host, Robert Pictou. Our show today comes to you from the traditional and unceded territory of the Tsimshian people. British Columbia has the second largest natural gas reserves in Canada and is a reasonable shipping distance from Asian markets. Of more than 500 possible locations located throughout the province, Kitimat, at the head of the Douglas Channel, was selected as the export terminal for LNG Canada. On today's Open Connection, we're bringing you highlights of nation-to-nation update on LNG.
What we're going to do now is I'll just maybe share a few facts of where we're at. We're at about 60% complete. And when I'm talking about the project, I am talking about inside the fence. And my CGL colleagues, have done a good update in the back there, Scott. So really appreciate that. But I think inside the fence we're 60%. I think I wouldn't get fired for saying that. We've done about $3.8 billion of Indigenous spend during the construction phase. So we're looking right now as we start to do two things at once, which for corporations can be difficult, is finish construction safely. We're looking to be starting the commissioning and startup phase here at the end of 2023, while also building the company and the culture that we want to run the facility for the next 45 years. So we're doing those two things. And something that's really exciting in the last, I'd say, maybe 6 to 10 months, kind of coming out of COVID, has been some of the local partnerships that we've got with Coast Mountain College, the Power Engineering Readiness course, and I'll maybe just say two things about that. K5T with Dave Hansen and Kitslis and Jordan. Some of these things are really outside of the box, thinking that without the courage again and the desire to partner with a big behemoth organization like LNG Canada with all of the joint venture partners, it's really been a really cool, interesting kind of progression as we get ready for the startup, because it's really difficult to imagine the transition, because we're going to go from a peak workforce here in 2023 of about 4,500 men and women down to the run and maintain organization, which is significantly less. But what we want to do is we don't want to lose the opportunities as we skill people up and skill people over into those career type jobs where people can make real money, purchase homes, have some stability to set their family roots deep. We really also too are looking to partner with the Haisla and some of our other nations, including Kitslis and Kitsim-Kalim, to bring nations home. So we've got plans. Hope and I have chatted a lot about finding people that are living out of community, whether that's in the Lower Mainland or Okanagan or Alberta, where they've had to chase work, and bringing them home to their traditional territory. And that's something that we're excited about doing. So if you've got any names, it'd be great to chat. Yeah, Hope, you got names? Oh, bring them to Hope. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. And one thing that we're doing I just wanted to highlight before I turn it over to you, Kate, and sorry to make you stand here. I don't mean to do all the talking. Is the Power Engineering course that we've partnered with Coast Mountain College and BCIT out of Burnaby. Is what it was all expenses paid. Sounds like a trip, but a tuition-free opportunity for local and Indigenous students. 20 slots saved for a course that we conducted at the end, kind of during COVID, actually quite at the height of COVID. We had to really work closely with the college to get that delivered, and amazing coordination between us. 20 local spots saved where folks are really being able to upgrade their math, some of their physics. Physics makes me sweat, but math and physics, and these are people in a lot of cases that had been out of school for decades. And the amount of courage that took to come across, I'm saying courage a lot, but it's kind of a running theme. And the last thing too is that how do we get people skilled over into career type opportunities while they're still making really good money doing a project role that they need to pay their month-to-month rent, especially during inflation. So with all the inflation pressures.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Being part of this project means a lot to me. It's something that I can look back on and say, wow, I was part of building Canada.
Project of this size, of this scale, I mean, it's a huge undertaking with lots of moving parts. If you're a young apprentice or a seasoned journeyman, I mean, it's a great place to work, great people, strong safety culture. It's a pretty phenomenal place.
The greatest experience for me is being a part of history here, making sure that we supply better gas for the future.
It's kind of a unique opportunity to see, you know, the mountains, the water being nearby, the surroundings. It's really nice to see that.
I love the challenge of what may come next. The opportunity to learn is the thing that drives me the most.
It's very cool. Every day is different, working on anything from putting bolts in holes to flying material, running crews all over.
I come from a residential background, so I was really amazed. I've never stayed in a camp that size before and that new. Lots of amenities, lots of entertainment to do at night, the lounge, and then there's a games room, there's a theater. I've really enjoyed the camp food as well, if it's not obvious.
Free food and a free place to stay and all the activities they have around. I love it there, and the rock climbing wall and the basketball courts, and they even have disc golf and stuff. It's got to be the best camp in Canada. There can't be a better one in Canada for sure.
Thank you for staying with us. In collaboration with Coast Mountain College and LNG Canada, the 4th Class Power Engineer program introduces students to 36 hours of learning about LNG, PNG sector and opportunities for power engineering in BC's Northwest region. Let us return to the conversation with Craig Halden.
How do we take people out where they can pause their economic means, get them skilled up or skilled over to come work for us? That's a real difficult, needle to thread. And so with Coast Mountain College, we've been able to deliver that power engineering course, and it does two things. One is it allows people to understand if they want to work in that field. And a power engineer, if you don't know, is essentially the men and women that will be operating the LNG Canada facility, both in the control room and in the facility. They're spinning valves, they're running the computers, the DCS systems, all that technical information. So we had we were a little nervous. We were, maybe we'll get 5 to 8, to be honest. And we were able to fill all 20 slots with really exceptional, I was going to say young men and women, but we had a mix, and local and Indigenous talent, and really excited about the Indigenous involvement and the women who are not typically, they're a little underrepresented in the control rooms of the industrial facilities in Canada. So we're really focused on that, excited about that. And great news is we're also continuing the am I feeding back a little bit? I'll stand closer to you, Kate. is we're starting here this semester at Coast Mountain College will be better equipped to provide an update, but is they started their 4th class. So they're working towards their 4th class, which upon graduation from that, we're really excited to get to know them at LNG Canada, and if they want to come work for us, it's going to be a great opportunity. But one other thing we've done for them is we're gonna match, if there's no twisting arms here, but if people are interested, we're going to partner each of the 20 students with a mentor from LNG Canada that is already in the field. And some of these people that we're partnering them with have 30 years experience and are really beautiful people coming from all walks of life to get the facility started up. And they're really going to get in on the ground level of that startup facility, which is going to be amazing for their resume. If they choose to stay with us, amazing. If they want to go work at Cedar, also amazing. If they want to go work for Slisms with Rockies and Western LNG, also amazing. So really, as the first proponent to be walking through that process, it's an honor and a privilege, but it's also really trying to set the stage to create that workforce for all of the proponents that come behind. So that's something that I'm both proud of and I think it's going to be an overall net benefit for all the other proponents in the room.
On my introduction, my name is Kate Fernandez. I'm actually a Kitimat local. Been with the project a couple years, and my current role, I'm the Site Systems and Digital Coordinator. Very fancy title. A big portion of the work we do in speaking about the pandemic and all of the issues we had with being able to share updates and information the best way possible with a scale back in our society was using drone technology. The program we use, and we were hoping to do a live demonstration, but technology also isn't always friendly. So I do have some slides for you. So hopefully we'll be able to work. Okay. So what this is, and I'll kind of be moving and pointing, so please bear with me, and maybe I'll just point to this screen over here, or Craig can be over here. So what we can see is for our IHawk portal, it's called, we have historical data for the construction of the project. So on the left-hand side, you can see what the project footprint was in 2017. Being a brownfield project, that means that the LNG Canada site is actually being built on the old Methanex site, for those who may not be familiar with it. So 2017, this is an air photo. It was actually taken using a fixed-wing helicopter or a fixed-wing airplane. And then now we use drone technology to capture images once a month to see where our construction project is going. So that's on the right. So you can see we have our camp to the far left, and then the main project site is the main body, and you can see the difference in the land mass that we've now taken up. So first things first, there's 3 major areas that I'll discuss with regard to the construction itself. So our first area is our process area. This is the area where the LNG will come into the plant. It needs to be cleaned up, so there's different materials that need to be taken away from the LNG before we can cool it.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome back to Open Connection. LNG Canada will initially consist of 2 trains or processing units that will receive and process natural gas, converting it into LNG ready for shipping. These 2 units will have capacity to produce 14 million tons of LNG per year. Let us return to the conversation with Kate Fernandez.
So as of this year, what we have is we have 2 process trains. The first train is well on its way. We have now 6 modules placed on train 1. So that's the picture on the top with the arrow going down to the far side, kind of more toward the east. And then you can see train 2 is actually about 6 months behind, and this is a very strategic way of building the plant so that we're working our way through train 1. And then 6 months following, we can see the progress on train 2. So that's the photo down below. And you can see the different concrete foundations that are now ready. Our very first train 2 module is now on its way over to Kitimat from the module yards. So this is kind of where we're coming from in terms of last year being that year where we were really working to get out of the ground, and now our modules are arriving, and it's important for us not only to place the modules, but then also the big program in welding programs and connecting these modules to each other and starting that vigorous work to get the plant going in the process area. So moving from process, next we have our utilities. The utilities area for the LNG Canada project is massive. And if we look at the footprint kind of on the plant, there's also some additional utilities that are supported, but I had to kind of try and do some highlights so that I'd give Craig enough time to chat today. So first, what we have is that these are the cooling towers. So this unique design for the LNG Canada project has water. It's a water-cooled facility for the process. So the cooling towers are in production, and you can see that there's some fans on the top of the train 1 cooling tower. So this is the cooling tower supporting the first train that I had mentioned earlier. And then of course, behind in production, of course, kind of keeping up is the second cooling tower. In addition to the cooling towers, there's a whole bunch of different facilities that are being supported. So we have refrigerant, we have the raw water tank. So that's the water tank that will hold the water that comes from the Kitimat River. So all of these different pieces of infrastructure are now in place. Another big portion of the work we do with the LNG Canada site that may be different to other LNG projects in the world is we're building in the Great Bear Rainforest. Rainforest in the title means we have rain. We all know that. One of the big pieces of work that is nearing completion are the permanent storm ponds. So these are catchment ponds for all of the different runoff water for the site. It's really important. We don't want the water pooling when we're in a functional site. So what you can see here, these are called U-ditches. They're massive concrete ditches that are perimeter wide on the site, which will direct storm water and runoff water, when it comes onto the site, down to the ponds that are coming here. And what you can see in this far corner are the temporary ponds that were built prior to the permanent ponds being built. The temporary ponds now are slowly being decommissioned as the permanent ponds come online. So that's a big piece of work that has occurred in 2022. And then once the temporary ponds are completed, they will be backfilled, and that portion of the site will be used for the additional portions of work in that kind of southeast corner. So lots of utilities, very, very important pieces of work that support the process. Without utilities, we have no process. Next, oh, I went the wrong way because I'm pointing it. Let me go the other way. Okay, so finally, in order to, so we have the utilities supporting the process cleans up and then cools the LNG to a liquid. From getting to liquid state, it needs to be stored. So many people may have heard of the LNG tank being erected last year, so all of the concrete lifts that occurred. The LNG tank, as of today, is about 70% complete, with final completion on that tank expected next year. So once the LNG tank is finished, then the other piece of work that goes with it is this loading line. So this is a very unique build. So we have the line that will run from the LNG tank down to the marine area where the LNG will be loaded on the LNG carriers and sent overseas.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Estuaries are very important in the lives of many animal species. They're often called the nurseries of the sea because of the numerous animal species that rely on estuaries for nesting and breeding. In this final segment of Open Connection, Kate shares how LNG is being a good environmental steward.
Construction of this loading line down to the marine area was very strategic and very intentional in using what's called a CLB. It's a cantilever bridge system. And the last time this particular piece of equipment was used was at an LNG build in Northern Australia. And what it does is it's the least invasive way to build this trestle and put this loading line onto the marine, where basically the piles get piled into the ground, so big long tubes hammered into the ground, and then the machine actually walks out on the piles so that roadway pieces are placed behind the piles, and then it keeps going. So if you notice down over here, we actually have moose and bear and different animals going underneath this loading line. Even during construction, we have not had to go and take out the environment and then put it back in after and do reclaim work. So really, really important piece for the team working on this. And then finally, we have a little bit down here, and you can kind of see it in the photos. The Terminal B, the end of our Terminal B location is the location of the old Hurricane warehouses. Those are all being demolished. They're all under demolition right now. So this area is just about clear of those old buildings. So that was another big piece of work that LNG Canada wanted to complete this year. So moving from our storage and loading, finally it's our offsets. So our offsets have been really exciting. One of the pieces of work that I've had a privilege to be part of is our local environment forum. And it's a really, really important thing to understand, looking at the size of our site, what it is today versus what it was, and that's why I showed you it at the beginning. What it was to what it is, there were very, very strict conditions. In order for LNG Canada to build, we had very strict conditions to meet in order to make sure that whatever we were taking away from habitat that was in this area that had not been disturbed before we had to make sure we did everything we could to create viable habitat. So there's areas of habitat that were built in the north, creek diversions that occurred, and then significant habitat pieces around the plant site. The first important piece was that we needed to have that habitat as close to the plant site as possible. So what we can see here in these photos, just to wrap up, this is a section of habitat down in the south end of the plant, which was completed in summer 2021. And this is a photo that was taken about 3 weeks ago. And we can see that the habitat has really begun to, all of the vegetation is coming back and it's really performing well. The next one here is the Anderson Creek diversion. And this was in early August, or about early August, maybe second week of August, after we had a fairly good rainfall. So you can see really good use of this habitat. It's really important for us to monitor and make sure, and then also repair should these offsets not be performing the way they need to be. And then finally, this last one is actually a picture of fish in Anderson right about over here that was taken on Tuesday. So our drone, this is part of the privilege of the role I get to play. I get to talk to our drone pilots and say, have some fun over Anderson and let's see what the fish are doing. And so he sent me some lovely videos and I was able to get that snapshot. So you can see the project is not only what we're building in terms of LNG and LNG for the world, it's also what are we doing to make sure we're protecting the environment that we're building in.
Yeah, I don't even like speaking in front of people, but here we are. But what I really has been kind of hitting me over the last little while, and I was chatting with Hope about it, is you know, the previous to FID, and proponents find them at various parts of their project trajectory. You're in the business of making promises, and making promises that are hopefully reasonably, you know, achievable. And where we find ourselves now with LNG Canada is trying to keep those promises, and so that is the challenging part, especially as we're safely concluding construction over the next couple of years, looking to start and build the company we want to run the place, you know. And I'm a eternal optimist, so, you know, potentially building out the 3 and 4 trains.
This is a great introduction into oil and gas in British Columbia. We have amazing opportunities and an incredible amount of things to learn and do.
There's tons of opportunity here to find a place for yourself in the project. I wish I did this years ago.
It's been a crazy experience. I've learned a lot from so many great mentors, and it all started out there in the field.
I would just say that anybody that's coming here, just appreciate the construction site with all the natural beauty that surrounds, and the people. Embrace the people. There's many cultures and many languages.
If they get an opportunity to come here, I take it, telling my kids that your dad was on one of the biggest projects in Canada. It's awesome to be proud to come up here.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Open Connection. The greatest distance in the existence of man is not from here to there, but in the connection from his mind and heart. If we can conquer that distance, we can soar like an eagle and realize our immensity within. I'm Robert Pictou.